That friend of mine standing there, jumping up and down the steps, he said, give him hell, Liz, and give him hell. And I did, I shot him down.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests. Hope you all are, thank you, Tommy. Hope you all are doing very well today. It's supposed to be spring, feels a little bit colder. But we're going to have an invocation by Mr. Patrick Kelly. Patrick?
Please join me in the Rotary prayer. Service above self. Open our eyes that we may see. Open our ears that we may hear. Touch our hearts that we may love. Clear our minds that we may think. And strengthen our hands that we may work. Amen.
Thank you, Patrick. All right, I am not Larry Aiken. Yeah, I know. I know I look like Larry Aiken, but Larry's out of town, so I'm presiding for him, and that means we're going to get out on time, Patrick. And incoming president, Krista Lambert, is up in the Raleigh area today, and he might come in a little bit late, and they asked me to preside, and I said that would be just fine. I intentionally started early today, because I wanted to give our distinguished guests enough time, because as you're going to find out, Hubert let us know that he could go on for an hour. And we don't have an hour, and he knows that. But I'm going to have David Spivey introduce our guests today.
Thank you, John. Okay, everyone, it's my pleasure to introduce Hubert Garland Edwards and his wife, Linda. I'm excited. I can't wait to hear his program, but before I give his introduction, he did say, he said, I can talk an hour and not even look at a note. So he said, if we have a family or Rotary event or something in the evening where we don't have a big time constraint, he would love to come back and give another program for everybody could bring their spouses and that kind of thing. So we will, I'll tell him we definitely keep that in mind. But Hubert was born October 27th, 1918. And you know what that means? That means this October he'll be 100 years old. And he was raised on a 300-acre tobacco farm in Beaufort County near Washington, North Carolina. He was one of 11 brothers and sisters. And as he became older, he decided he didn't like farming, and he decided that it just wasn't for him. And so in 1939, being underage, he had his parents sign for him so he could enlist in the Army. Before he went to Europe, to England in 1941, he was married. He was assigned to the 17th Field Artillery Battalion. He served 37 months overseas on the front lines. He participated in 7 D-Day type invasions in 7 countries and North Africa. In 1968, he was chosen to be the Beaufort County campaign manager for the Honorable Senator Robert Morgan. Most of us in here remember that name. At that time, he was running for Attorney General of North Carolina. Hubert was on the first board of directors of the Beaufort County Community College. His career, working career, he retired from Hamilton Beach. You remember they make blenders and things like that. I remember that name, Hamilton Beach. In 2011, he went on the Flight of Honor for World War II veterans off to Washington, D.C., and I know Rotary used to help with those events also. On July 4th, 2016, the Atlanta Braves played the Marlins at Fort Bragg in Fayetteville at the new baseball stadium. And Hubert was the guest of honor for that game. And he's been a lifelong Braves fan for 73 years, but he had never attended a game. So that was a big treat and honor for Hubert for that. He has been the Grand Marshal of the Lillington Veterans Day Parade. He's been a Mason for 72 years. He's a member of the Western Hornet Lions Club for 10 years. A member of the Sanford Senior Drama Club. He's also a member of First Baptist Church. That's how I got to know Hubert and Linda from church. His hobbies are cooking, baking, traveling, dancing, and acting. He enjoys speaking and sharing his experience with civic clubs. So if any of you other, any other organizations you're affiliated with, I'm sure Hubert would love to get on the schedule to talk to that group. On April 12th, next week, Holocaust Remembrance Day, he's speaking along with a Jewish survivor of Auschwitz concentration camp at Fort Bragg at the Iron Mike Convention Center. And that'll be live streamed, and maybe you can give me a connection or a site where we could click on and watch that. But, he's married almost 11 years to Linda, and they live at Carolina Lakes down in Harnett County. And also his daughter Gail and her husband Jim Searles live in Carolina Lakes also. But Mr. Edwards wants to share some of his experiences with World War II for us today, so let's give him a hearty welcome.
Thank you for that introduction. It's great to find out who you are, isn't it? Oh, this right here, I want to tell you, I lost my hearing during World War II with artillery concussion. The VA has been really good to me, furnishing me with hearing aids and my hearing equipment, stuff of that nature. This little gadget right here is my ears. This picks up your sounds, different voices, different categories of different things, transmits it to my hearing aids so I can hear. Not 25 or 50% now, but enough that I can get by, and I appreciate this. Linda, my wife, owns this. This is her equipment. It's given to her so she could communicate with me. And now just get down to the business at hand, okay? In the beginning, I was in the invasion of North Africa. I was in the invasion of Sicily. I was in the invasion of Italy. I was in the invasion of southern France. So that gave me 4 invasions. I had 660 frontline fighting days. Out of that came a lot of experiences that I wouldn't take a lot of money for, and I wouldn't give you a plug nickel to go through it again either, I'll tell you that. During my 10 years of the 37 months I served over there, like I said, it started out in Africa. One of the first things that happened to us was Kasserine Pass. That was a disaster. The Germans were set up for us because they were expecting us. We had a mountain here, and a 2-lane highway in the center going through the valley. When we approached it, that they let loose all the power they had to stop us and cause us to get in a great retreat. We lost 299 enlisted people. We lost 35 officers. We lost 12 guns. We lost every piece of rolling equipment we had but one. And so the ones of us that was lucky enough to get out, we got out on foot. And we wondered about trying to get back to our outfit and what was left of it, and we finally made it. We got re-equipped. We got all new guns, all new rolling equipment and everything. And 3 weeks later, the Germans met us again. That was their mistake. We gave them what they thought they had finished of us. A real battle. Okay, so in North Africa, our next battle was a place called El Qatar. Got up one morning and everything was quiet and peaceful. Our 3-gun battles was A, B, and C. Okay, the commander of B battery looked right at his boys. He said, things are so quiet, I'm afraid what is about to take place. So our guns are set in behind these sand dunes. He took his binoculars, walked up on top of the sand dune, laid down on his tummy, with his binoculars. He counted 36 German tanks lined up, fixing to attack us. He directed fire on those tanks. They counterattacked it. We opened up on them. We attacked, they counterattacked 6 times during that day. We knocked out those 36 tanks. Then they decided that the only thing left them to do was to attack on foot. We had in our artillery and in our possession an anti-tank shell. At the end of that shell where you put your fuse, we had a little piece of tinfoil cylinder that went over the end of it where that fuse was at. When it was fired and got within 6 or 7 feet of its destination, it exploded. So we used that effort to stop them on foot. That commander beat Battis, said, boys, I want to tell you something. He said, that's the greatest act of artillery I have ever seen in my life. He said, we knocked out 36 tanks. We killed the ones that were attacking on foot. And it's an artilleryman's dream. He says, body parts, arms, eggs, legs, heads, different body parts flying all over everywhere. When we broke up that deal for that day, of course we still had our 12 guns, and listen, we had 8 rounds of ammunition. We were thankful to the Lord that the Germans didn't know that, because you know about it, 12 guns and 8 rounds of ammunition. And so we called back quartermaster. We got to have some artillery shells and we need them right now. They didn't send 2 or 3 trucks. They said, them guys up there got 12 guns, they need a lot of ammunition. They sent 12 truckloads, 1 truckload per gun. Okay, now during that day and that battle at El Qatar, the Germans decided that they'd come in and strafe our gun positions. Well, I had my own Jeep assigned to me. I had twin 50 caliber machine guns mounted in the back of my Jeep. So here comes this Messerschmitt 109 German plane to strafe our gun positions. I had this good friend from Jersey City, New Jersey. His name was Michael Lehman. I won't ever forget this guy. He was one heck of a good person. I said to him, I said, Mike, I says, he's going to come back when it does. I'm going to be ready for him. I said, come on. Well, our guns was up here. He came from this direction. My Jeep with my machine guns are sitting back here. So he didn't have a view of me whatsoever because he was over here and I was back here. Wasn't long I told Mike, I said, he's coming, I hear him. And just a few moments, he came in sight. When he got in fire distance, I opened up them twin 50 caliber machine guns. That friend of mine standing there, jumping up and down the steps, he said, give him hell, Liz, he said, give him hell. And I did, I shot him down. I wish I had more time. I got a lot of stories I could tell you about World War II, my experiences. But when we made the invasion of Sicily, we had to wade ashore. We lost one man. We had a guy in our outfit, he must have weighed 210 pounds and he must have been over 6 foot. And wading ashore, he caught a bad cold, he had flu, he had pneumonia and died. He was the only one we lost in that invasion for Sicily. Well, as we were fighting in Sicily, up on it wasn't a mountain, it was a large hill like, and we were sitting down here in the valley. Up there, they had this monastery. Had an agreement with our enemies like Italy, Germany, that monastery would not be destroyed because it was a religious retreat. We honored it. The Germans didn't. They were using it as an outpost, sitting up there looking down at the valley down there, looking right at us and our guns, directing fire on us. Churchill, Eisenhower, and Joseph Stalin had a meeting one night. Said, we got to do something about that monastery up there. What shall we do? Stalin, Churchill wanted to destroy it. Eisenhower didn't. He said, we need to honor it. Stalin said to him, he says, listen, fellas, he says, they got an advantage of us. We got to do something about it. He said, I'll tell you what you two do. He called up the Pope, see how many divisions he's got to protect it. That done the trick. That turned the tide. Air Force was notified that night. We were notified that night. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we're going to destroy it. Right on the money, 8 o'clock next morning, here come the Air Force. We opened up our guns, 30 minutes to went to the monastery. I mean, we completely blew it over that hill. Well, when we made the invasion of Sicily, in our own outfit, we had bets about how long it would take us to conquer Sicily. Anywhere from 30 to 44 days. I lost. I took number 31. Well, on through there, the number of days it took us to conquer Sicily, and the next morning that we're going to invade Italy, had a stream of water that ran between Sicily and Italy, known as the Messina Straits. Mile and a half across there. That was a good target for us. Our guns wouldn't shoot but 11 miles. at 11 o'clock that night, all of our guns opened up, and everywhere we could find put a gun, we had one. In the street, in the driveways, on the street corners, everywhere. When all those guns opened up that night at 11 o'clock, you know, who was going about like that? Right on the money, it's 11 o'clock. I mean, we had that much firepower, that much light. Well, next morning, we landed on the very foot of Italy. When we opened up that barrage the night before, the Germans went crazy. They said, we got to get out of here, them boys is coming. So when we made our landing the next morning, listen, we went 7.5 miles up Italy before we contacted any Germans. They had retreated that far. Well, of course, we fought on up Italy, conquered Naples, on our way to Rome. There's a place up there called Anzio. You nodded your head. You know something about this? Anzio. Okay. The British and us had a plan. The British was going to invade on the eastern shores of Italy. We were going to invade on the western shores of Italy, and we were going to fight inwards until we met in the center. We made our invasions. I want somebody to tell me what happened to the British. They didn't show. They didn't show. So here we were sitting out at Anzio by ourselves. We had a secret. We had 2 Navy warships sitting off shores from Anzio with those 16-inch guns. And when they got through shelling that area where we were going to invade, there wasn't nothing left. There wasn't a building left, there wasn't a shelter left, there wasn't a tree left, there wasn't a sprig left. I mean, they had wiped it out for 5 or 6 miles, and they gave us room to invade and get set up and everything. Well, then they had to do something to furnish us supplies at Anzio, because all back here was the Germans, and then back of this was us. So what we had to do was to load trucks with equipment, including food, everything that was necessary for us, and ship it to us by ship out of the Mediterranean to come back into Anzio. Fighting on up there, and we were having a good time. We were on the march. We were on the go. Well, when we reached the outskirts of Rome one afternoon, a little bit before the sunset, we were sitting there that night, and such a show of air power I have never seen in my life. The sky was full of them all night long. And of course, we had a conference running ourselves. Well, the invasion, of course, the challenge got to be taking place with all this air power up there. Next morning, the first thing we heard on radio, the Americans invaded France. And so then we occupied Rome. We had this agreement with Germany too, that whenever we reached Rome and we notified them that we were not going to destroy Rome because it was a religious city. And so when we showed up, the Germans pulled out and left. So there we had had room this morning, and the invasion across the channel took out this morning. We were fighting on up, and we wanted to get to Florence. You may know this, and somebody may not, but one of the we wanted to get up there and see the Leaning Tower, but Eisenhower had different plans. Before we could get to Florence, he pulled us out, sent us back down to Naples and loaded us on ships. Southern France, here we come. Invasion of southern France. When we made the invasion of southern France, some of us in our outfit made a remark that said, Hitler, look out, here we come. We were still on the march, we were on the go. Well, about that time, I don't know if many of you ever heard of the Yalta Convention. Roosevelt, Churchill, Stalin met to see who should go into go into Berlin first. Roosevelt, Churchill, Stalin decided that Russia should go in because they had such a hard time fighting the Germans, keep the Germans from capturing Russia. So we got sold out at the Yalta Convention. As the war continued on, while everything was on the march, we had the troops come in across the channel. We had the troops that had invaded southern France at Marseilles. We were in the Third Army. And as we were advancing rapidly, we were 300 miles ahead of everybody else heading to Berlin. The Yalta Convention says, the Russians got to get there first. So what did they do with us? They gave us a right flank, sent us into Austria. What business we have in Austria? My God. Austria, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, all of those satellite countries were cut off. They were surrounded. They couldn't get out. They couldn't defend their own country because we had them blocked off. Sent us up in there. So, when the war ended in Europe, everything settled, documents signed, the war ended. And then they had a program for the number of points that each GI had. And if you had a certain amount of points, you got to fly home. If you didn't come up with that many flights, you came back on a ship. Listen, you're looking at the guy that had the highest number of points of anybody in our outfit. The number, in order to fly back home, was 300. I had 430. And so I got to fly back home. I made this remark to a lot of people. There's two things the Germans didn't like. They didn't like the 155 howitzer, and they hated me. So, here we are, still fighting wars, and I can't understand none of them. We fought and won 2 world wars in 4 years. Right now, we can't take a cotton picking hill or peninsula or anything of any nature whatsoever in 16 years. Now you tell me there ain't something wrong. 16 years to take a place like Afghanistan, when we won 2 world wars in 4 years each. I wish I had a lot of time. I got a whole lot I could tell you, but my time is up. Thank you for listening.
Hubert, could you told me at church that night that you met Eisenhower and Patton.
Yes, I did.
Could you tell that story real briefly?
Yeah, I'll be happy to, yeah.
Okay.
We had just moved our guns in France, in the woods. That was a no-no. You put a 155 house out there in the woods and you fire that thing in the woods, if that shell hits the top of a tree up, it explodes right over you. We were digging a hole in the ground about this big. We poured gasoline in it, take a number 10 can, which held about a gallon, filled it up with water, set there then, and heated that water. When it started boiling, we poured our coffee in it, made some coffee. We were sitting there making some coffee. I heard the leaves rattling behind me, and I was the sergeant in charge. I looked around, who was back there but Eisenhower and Patton? I got up and called attention. Eisenhower looked at me and said, "Sit down, boy." I couldn't find no reason not to. So I did. I sat down and I told him, I said, "Sir," I said, "you can see that we're making some coffee. If you got 10 or 15 minutes to wait around, we'd be happy to share a cup of coffee with you." He got up there and he looked at the coffee. He said, "I don't think I could go that coffee." I said, "If you're in the same situation we're in," I said, "you reckon you could?" He said, "Probably." And so he had not talked 12, 15 minutes, and he finally said, "I'm out here looking around, see how things is going. And from what I'm looking at right now, we're going to win this war." I said, "You're right." I said, "Because we're going to see to it too." And so then he said, "Well, we better go." So he and Pat got in the Jeep and drove off. But I was one of the very few people, I'm sure, that ever got to talk to Eisenhower and Patton, and especially both of them at the same time.
Thank you.
I better get them. Wonder what I got all these notes for. I didn't use them.
You didn't even use them, that's right. Hubert, thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you for your service.
This has been a good experience for me and
Yeah.
a joyful one.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Linda, thank you as well. Thank you very much. You're right, we could listen to you for an hour, and I think we're gonna have to take you up, as David mentioned, the next time we have a social, we'll have you come. You didn't use a lick of your notes, and you just kept on, yeah. Anyways, thank you for your time.
Let me take just a little bit more
Sure.
time, if you will.
That's fine.
You won't believe what this is.
This
My
son-
daughter, only child, but she's in a junior in high school. They were studying American history. The teacher asked them, "Any of you have parents, relatives, anybody in your family that's a World War II veteran?" My daughter said, "Dad, I couldn't help it." So my little hand flew right up, said, "My daddy." So the teacher asked her, said, "Do you think he'd be interested to come?" She said, "I'll let you know tomorrow." That night she talked to me about that, so I'll be happy to. Guess what? This is my notes I used for that very first speech when she was a junior in high school.
She's 70.
And I still got them.
She's 70.
Did you hear what Linda said? Linda said she's 71 now.
71.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you did use notes back then?
Do I?
You did use notes back then, right?
I did, yeah, uh-huh. But I haven't used a minute. I just got a memory like you wouldn't believe.
You do.
Yeah, I got a good memory.
Oh.
I'll keep my notes with me.
Yeah.
If I'm up here talking, I'll forget something, I might look at them.
Yeah.
So these are the countries and the dates and the order of the countries. That's all
right.
that's on there.
That's right.
It's all the countries and the dates when he was there.
Give me my discharge.
You
You
got
don't
it?
have to, oh yeah, we got it on. I think that's it right there.
For my bronze stars, my silver stars, all of my ribbons and everything that I got came from my experience during the war. 7 different battles. I ain't talking about overnight skirmishes, I'm talking about battles. Tunisia, Sicily, Lepus-Foggy, Roma, southern France, Rhine campaign, and 7 bronze stars instead of 2. 7 bronze stars, no silver. But that's the battles that I fought in.
Thank you, Hubert.
Thank you, Hubert. All right, we still have the raffle to draw, and I am the jack of all trades today, so I am drawing for the raffle, and I'm talking about the Pots of Gold raffle, not the regular raffle. So, Terry, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to pan around if you want to see the raffle drawn over here. We had 10 more tickets deposited today. I'd like to thank Rita for giving us 5 tickets, and Nash for 5 more. I'll go ahead and draw. I won't look, just so you won't accuse me of being biased, right? And the winner is Sanford Real Estate. Look at that. That was my ticket. Did you? It was on camera. Did you see I looked away? Yeah. Check his sleeves. Woohoo! Now, if anyone wants to preside as president and treasurer on one meeting, see what happened? No, just kidding. Do you see the thanks you get? Well, that was fortuitous. All right.
Can I keep this?
Yes, you can keep that. That's you. Come on now. Matter of fact, there's several of them here, Hubert.
Good, you my notes.
David, did you do that?
Oh, yeah.
That was very nice. Thank you, David. David, thank you for the program. It was a fantastic program.
Right,
Thank
this
you.
is yours.
That's right.
We'll have some more.
So Hubert and Linda, thank you again for your time today. Thank you for your service especially. Martha, very nice to see you. Thank you for coming to see us today. Jared, thank you for coming to see us as well. And Tommy, as always, you're kind of a regular here, but thank you for coming to be with us and for your service with Assistant District Governor. And I guess I'll lead in the 4-way test because I won the raffle today. So if you'll stand and join me in reciting the 4-way test. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.